I was telling you that I don't believe in absolute music. I say always there is always an engagement.
To something.
There is something who is going on behind it, at least in what I do. Now this engagement, there is two kinds of engagement. Engagement with yourself, emotionally, sometimes, or sometimes political engagements, for instance. America, I did it for America. What it means for me, the epos of America. Or Amerindia, an homage to the Indian music who was in America that I left. And I did it here, by the way. I did it here. It was a kind of a nostalgia, of the past. Or I wrote pieces for a student who was shot because he was a rebel, or a man who wanted to start a revolution in Peru, like Jackie, for instance, who Sherkin did the first performance, by the way, for orchestra. I mean, there is, you understand, an engagement in these two things, but there is another engagement. The engagement with the style, with the material that you are using. This engagement, I call it engagement because it's a kind of attitude that you have toward the material that you receive. We have an inheritance from the tradition. From Bach, Beethoven, Brahms, Schumann, Schubert, whatever it is, and can come to us. Or Schoenberg, or Berg, or whatever. We take this, and our engagement consists in taking all this with us, not to forget the tradition, because it cannot be nothing new if you don't know the past. How are you going to bring something new if you are not going to bring the past? Yeah? Now, at my age, I am not so interested to bring something new. What I am interested is a synthesis of all what I have done before, from the beginning till now. To make a synthesis. You know what a synthesis means. That by consequence, I use things that I would never have used before.
Like?
A tonal chord, suddenly, and the tonal chord in the middle of a very aggressive
well, you use it as a dissonance, no?
And suddenly come a tonal chord, plays a role like a dissonance was before, when we were in the tonal period. The difference is that we learn in harmony that we need to resolve the dissonance. We need to prepare to use it and to resolve it. So we started fighting, Schoenberg started fighting to make independent the dissonance. And that they continue without dissonance. Mm-hmm. Now what's happened is suddenly the only dissonance work, suddenly you put something completely tonal. You understand, it is a shock, it is a crash that is produced too. Now, I don't know if I was clear enough to say the engagement then has three different phases. The emotional one, the political one, and the technical one, the professional one, in relation with the material that you receive and the history that the history of music brings to you. How you approach to it, how you take it, how to manipulate this, to obtain the expression that you want to obtain.
But there are no rules a priori.
No.
Why is this engagement to the tradition? What do you mean by that?
The engagement with tradition means to know the tradition, because we don't know it. We think we know it, but we don't know it really.
So what you say, an
but
alphabetic...
you are listening to Bach. Do you really know what Bach was doing?
No, we can...
Beethoven, the last quartet by Beethoven, the last sonatas by Beethoven. Do we nearly know them? But We know the Fifth Symphony, we know the Third Symphony, we know the traditional pieces, and generally they are performed on, but those pieces are not so performed because they are not so popular. And they cannot be popular because they are not so pleasant to the ear. Because for the tradition, this was something who cannot be done. To understand that Schubert was not what we think, how he was serializing his music too.
Doppelganger.
Doppelganger. C, La diez, Re, Do diez. This based the whole piece in these 4 sounds.
By the way,
You learn it with me, this.
Yeah.
I know.
By the way, I found similar things with Schumann.
Of course! Schumann, of course! And how?
I
But in
found
Schumann there is something
chord
very
progressions which are nearly, I don't know.
But you know what Schumann has?
What?
Something very strange. Pay attention. The rhythmical pattern. Pam pam, pam pam pam, pam pam pim pim, pam pim pam 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 pam, ta ta tam, ta ta tim 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 tam tam.
Grenaders.
It is a kind of a pattern that he is repeating and repeating and using, creating the unity of the piece. You understand? Because what's happening is like this. Schumann has a great inspiration, fantastical idea, but there is no development. Brahms, no ideas, only development. Development. It's not me. This is Leibowitz who says this. A pupil of Hebel. René Leibowitz.
Yeah.
I learned it from him. He was telling me the first time, I thought it was a scandal what he's saying. But with time, when I began to analyze, I began to realize it's true. Now, don't misunderstand, it's not a negative thing against each one of them, Schubert or Schumann.
It's just different approaches
Exactly.
to what composition is.
Exactly.
Well, Schumann was mainly inventing.
And how? Look the cello concerto. What a beautiful thing in it there. But look the symphonies. Look in the symphonies how he's repeating and repeating and repeating and repeating himself.
Well, but each time it articulated differently.
Why?
With...
But why?
I don't know.
No. He was sick. Schumann was an schizophrenic. Schumann was persecuted by the law. You know? To me.
No, it's not 100.
He was hearing all the time the law. You know this? I don't know if it is true or not true. You know?
Now, as I say, part of this crazy thing about Schumann, part of it, it's not true. So.
I don't know. But there is something who is really true in him. He tried to commit suicide.
Ah, okay.
This is a fact.
Well, many people have tried.
Yes.
It's not...
Do you want that I try?
No.
I write poetry, prosa, in English, in German, in Spanish, because I need to express myself sometimes. In other fields, I am not a professional writer, no, don't misunderstand me. I am not a professional painter, no, I am a musician. But I developed these other things, I need it. It was funny. Imagine, I came to painting through music. It was the music who took me to the painting.
So the graphical music.
The graphic, exactly. Black and white, black and white, black and white. Why not color? You understand? This is something that came to me, I don't know how.
It helps you that you have this different...
Of course. Makes me fulfill my life. Especially now that I'm so alone. The loneliness is terrible. But what can we do? destiny is what it is. You know, I don't have the lucky that you have, that Kurzweil for the Dreigroschen opera, Mahagoni,
Also well.
Kurzweil. Seven scenes.
Scenes. That's my favorite.
I did now a piece, I call it the 7i.
7i? Why?
Because it's a story that I told you once, I think.
About the 7?
The secret of an artist.
You never told me.
The secret of an artist, nobody knows. Because every artist has a secret. He doesn't tell to no one. But the birds, they know it. So the birds, they sing the secret of the artist. And they go to the trees. And the trees, they murmur the secret of the artist. And comes the wind. And the wind moves the trees. So the murmuring of the secret of the artist goes with the wind and arrives to the graves where other artists are buried. And then the soul of all artists, they say, we need to go to God to tell him, because he knows too the secret of an artist. So they go to God. And the God opens the book of life. And he says to the soul of the artist, you, I know you are secret, but you have committed so many sins. So I'm going to send you to hell. And the artist says to him, Elohim, Ribono Shel Olam, you can do everything, but you cannot send me to hell, because there I have lived all my life. Then God closed the book of life. And then he thinks. And he says, you are right. You have suffered so much. And I know you are secret. So I'm going to send you to heaven so that you could be happy. And the artist says to him, Elohim, and Ribono Shel Olam, you can do everything you want, but you cannot send me there. God say, why? I can do everything. Say, yes. But for me, it could be impossible to imagine how it is to live in heaven. It's not a simple question what you are asking. It's a very difficult question, but I think the same. I think there are too many composers that they call themselves composers, but they are not composers. They do a mechanical use of the knowledge that they have learned technically. Mm-hmm. But there is nothing personal, emotional. Because contrary of what people generally think, in every kind of music, if it is the older music, the Middle Age, or today, or the contemporary music, or even so-called avant-garde music that I don't know what it means today anymore, I think there is a soul inside a piece. Every piece has a soul that you cannot touch, but you can feel. There is a quotation that I can tell to you. The wind blows. You feel the wind, but you don't know from where it comes or where it goes. So it happens with people who are son of the Spirit. when they were showing a piece of music to me, any pupil or any person, I was looking not for only the technical thing who was inside, if it was not written properly, not properly, etc., of course, that I prefer that it is properly written down on, graphically speaking, because it's easier to realize what is going on. But I was looking what was behind this, what is under this. This is what Schoenberg, when Alban Berg came to him for the first time, saw it immediately. Listen to him. The first songs that Alban Berg was doing, I don't know if you know it, the tonal Sieben frühe
Yeah,
Lieder.
Sieben frühe Lieder.
Very beautiful songs,
Yeah.
very traditional. Who will sing what Schoenberg did of Alban Berg?
Mm-hmm.
Or for Anton Wehmer was the same story. Or from Leibowitz, who was studying, by the way, with Wehlen. Yeah. Or with so many other people, you know, that I know. Alexander Goering was studying too with Schoenberg. Alexander Goering is secondary.
Yeah.
His son, by the way, is a composer in England. I don't know what's happened with him. I think it's something that you cannot identify and make a measure of it. You feel it or not. You realize or not. But the canon, how to realize it or not, is in the spirit of the piece. It's what the piece is saying to you, speaking to you, talking to you, whispering, murmuring to you, like the wind. Everything goes with the wind, as you know. I told you the story. The last time that I told you about this, you were very touched by what I was telling.
Yes.
This story, yes, I was nearly crying. Okay, but what I pretend to tell you is, for instance, there is something intuitive.
Intouchable.
Exactly. That you feel when you see the music. When I have seen your music full of bifnim, that means very unclear, very confused, but I saw that there is in there someone who wants to say something. And to say something doesn't matter which technique you are using. What is important is that you are honest of what you are saying, not pretending.
Well, but self-expression never means the real music.
Look what's happening with the 12.
Many people want to express themselves.
And they don't have the mediums because they have no real talent. There
How know?
There come the other element, who is not something to measure and to put in a box. It's something who comes spontaneously from it. Yeah? We talk about Lomberg again. I put you the example of Lomberg because it's more near to us. But we can talk about Monteverdi, we can talk about Guillaume de Machaut. It was the same story. To the side of Guillaume de Machaut was many other people who were composers. To the side of Beethoven was many other composers who were. The other day they were on the radio, they were saying this is the same period of Beethoven, they were playing music, I don't know who's the name, unknown to me, an Austrian composer, my God, nothing. Nothing behind. Yeah? Now, you can tell me of the taste plays a role of the person who are listening. Perhaps, yeah, it's true. It can happen that you listen a symphony by Sibelius and you like it. And there are people who will think it's kitsch. Though, I don't think that Tchaikovsky is kitsch. Like many people say, I think he was a great composer. Now,
well, kitsch is a very relative
it's a term for me which is very confusing. You have it in painting too, or you have poetry too.
Depends when you put the piece.
And how
And
you
how
look
you
at the
put.
piece. When the piece was done. In which situation the piece was done. Come a pupil to you and show to you something, like you show me this of this little girl. I see talent there. cannot tell you because he used a triola, because he used a terzas in there, because he used a syncopa, pa-pam, pa-pam. No.
Because
it's because the whole thing says something to me. Now, it could be that you show the same piece to Professor Sadai, who is going to do an interpretation according to the phenomenology of I don't know what, but nothing going to happen there. Because they cannot enjoy it. Because it's too much here. In other words, what I pretend to tell you, there is an emotional fact who is intuition, who is untouchable, that you cannot touch. Yeah?
And you cannot explain.
And you cannot explain in a simple word. It's very, very complicated to tell you this. The question is very difficult. I am talking what I think, but perhaps another composer could sing different, or another teacher would sing different. I am teaching 42 years in my life. I have taught in 3 different continents, 3 different type of people. In South America, if you compare a young composer with a young composer in Spain and a young composer in Israel, the 3 of them can have talent, but the 3 of them express their feelings or their way, though they are using a similar technique in a different way. The 3 of them can be using seriality, let us say.
But it will be completely different.
Completely different.
So
If by chance that Lutoslavsky and Penderecki come from the East, from Poland, from Russia, you're going to have other composers too who are coming from Russia, who are very, quite near one from the other. But how different? Well, it was a political situation, it was economical situation, it was many other factors. When I was talking with Penderecki in Caracas, we were in South America, talking with him, he was explaining to me how he arrived to this, through the influence of Lutoslavsky, etc., etc., and explained to me what means for him the cluster. I had the same question with Cherhard, an Austrian, who was using cluster too.
And it
was completely different, the answer. The necessity of the cluster. I put a cluster, you understand? A chromatical harmony can be chromatical, diatonical, or quarter tone clusters. There's different kind of clusters. Well, but the interesting thing was how each one arrived to this conclusion that I need to use this because of this or this or this reason. I cannot go to personal things, what Penderecki was telling me, or what Cherhard was telling me, or what Lutoslavsky would tell me if I would talk. Though with Lutoslavsky, the only time I met him in Caracas too, by the way, we have a big quarrel.
You see?
It was a son of a bitch, but it doesn't matter.
Anti-Semitic. But what you are saying is actually that composition, in fact, is a product of geographical, political, and personal situation.
Individual. There is the more important thing, the individual, the personality, what is behind this person.
But the same person living in different places should do a different...
Yeah. But look what's happened to me. I was born in South America. My first influence was the South American music. What we wanted to do, we wanted to use the technique of Europe given a character of Latin American music. The rhythmical pattern, you know, the tempos, the dances, etc., who are in the Indians or whatever it is around. When I went to study to Germany, I began to realize that there is something else, something different. Not that the other, I have something against it, not at all. It was always inside me. Always, all what I have done, doesn't matter which technique, there is like a thread, you know, who goes, a line, who goes inside my life. You know? I always wanted to express something emotional. Individual approach to the piece is the individual approach to the art of composing, of creating. Look, We know of the history of music some composers, but there were many others that we don't know, that we have no idea of their existence, for instance.
But does it say that they were not good enough?
No, it
Maybe
says
it's the circumstances.
that something we're touching in people who make them go on, meanwhile to the others not, or circumstances sometimes, circumstances of life. You never know. You cannot, look, Alona, you cannot make laws of these things. They are very complicated, they are not so simple. Of all what we have in the 20th century music, what is going to be left? How many composers are going to disappear? In 1 century, in half a century. They're not even to play them anymore. You perhaps in 2 centuries more, 3 centuries more, they rediscovered that this people.
They do Renaissance.
This part was forgotten and someone was doing this and this and this and this. I don't know what.
Well, this depends on fashions
And
which go and...
there is another problem. The taste. We have a taste.
Yeah.
We develop a taste. I told her when I was 15 years and I received for the first time from my father the Sacre del Printemps, the Sacre del Printemps, the Rite of the Spring. It was no music for me.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't understand it. And then afterwards I began to transform this piece in one of the first pieces that I analyzed for my pupil.
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought it's very important. Though I can have my reservation about the whole road that Stravinsky was taking.
Still, you can pick up one piece and say,
No,
this I work,
yeah.
all the rest doesn't work for me.
Villalobos. I don't know if you know Villalobos, a Brazilian composer.
Of course.
The cantate de Bahianas Brasileiras, for instance.
You don't like?
I like it very much. But I arrived at a period in which I think it was not so valuable, so important. Today I listen to Bahiana Brasileira and I get touched by it. Yeah? Become a nostalgia of Latin America, no? Silvestre Revueltas, a great composer.
But
I don't think I can answer you, Caja.
I didn't ask.
I cannot.